Just like that, it's all over. So the Eagles completed their historic collapse by getting blown out by the Bucs to be eliminated from the playoffs, and it was honestly unbelievable. I mean, it looked like this team just quit, and many believe that they quit on the coaching staff and Nick Sirianni, so should he and the rest of the coaching staff be fired? Well, many players publicly backed Sirianni after the game, including Jalen Hurts, who was also involved in a sideline altercation with tight end Dallas Goedert, which really put the pure frustration of this team on full display. Plus, Jason Kelce was clearly emotional after the game, and he just revealed what his plans are for his future. And also, what does the future of this Eagles team look like as they head into the offseason? Well, let's talk about that and everything else that went into the Eagles' demise. And we won't waste any time, let's get straight into it. If I had told you back in November, after the Eagles had just beaten the Bills in an overtime thriller, that this team was going to go on to lose 6 of its last 7 games en route to being a first-round exit, I feel like all of you would have called me crazy. But here we are just 2 months later, and that's the exact scenario we saw play out, as the Eagles were finally put out of their misery yesterday by the Buccaneers, who blew the birds out. I mean, the Bucs were for the most part the completely dominant team. Offensively, they just got whatever they wanted against an Eagles defense that looks like it would be incapable of stopping your average high school offense at times, while defensively, they really shut down an Eagles offense that looks like a shell of what it once was. I mean, it was just overall a clear domination from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And what makes it even more shocking is the fact that these two teams played way back in September in Week 3, and it was a completely different story. I mean, the Eagles were the dominant team in that one. Defensively, they completely shut down the Buccaneers offense, they forced turnovers, they pressured Baker Mayfield, and they got off the field and gave their offense more chances. And then on offense, they were able to move the ball really, really well. They gained almost 500 total yards of offense, they had a lot of success through the air, and on the ground, they were dominant. DeAndre Swift had a great day, and that offensive line was able to impose its will on the Buccaneers defense. And in turn, the Eagles were able to control the time of possession and control that game, and it led to a dominant Eagles victory. And the crazy thing is, back then, the main thing the Eagles fans were saying is something like, well, it wasn't perfect, but a win's a win. The Eagles can play so much better than that, and it's still really early in the season. Just wait until they play up to their full potential. But now, fast forward to the playoffs, and the Eagles have gone in the complete opposite direction, and now they just look like a shell of that Week 3 team, which also had a lot of issues. I mean, starting with the run game, we knew that to be successful in this game, the Eagles needed to commit to this. They needed to get back to committing to the run, leaning on that offensive line, and just imposing their will on a team. Lane Johnson had said this after last week's game, and the Eagles and that coaching staff just refused to do it. They started the game with a couple nice runs to Swift, but then immediately they got away from it, they passed the ball 3 straight times, and they went 3 and out. And then from that point on, it just looked like they had no desire of actually getting the run game going. DeAndre Swift only ended up with 10 carries, and as a team, the Eagles ran the ball just 15 times. It was honestly ridiculous, and it's another indictment on the Eagles' horrible offensive play calling, which, by the way, yet again, was just atrocious in this game. I mean, Jalen Hurts had absolutely no answers against the blitz whatsoever. I mean, like, the amount of times that I saw this guy launch a deep shot while under pressure was insane, and it's because, one, there are no hot routes in this offense, so Jalen really has nowhere else to go with the football when he's being blitzed, and 2, nobody's even picking up the blitz in the first place. Like, the amount of free rushers that Hurts had to deal with in this game was just crazy, and what's even crazier is that the Birds have had this same problem all year, most notably last week, and nothing changed. I mean, it's like they weren't even trying to fix it, and Lane Johnson agreed with that.
I don't know, it's like we weren't trying.
And in addition to that, Lane called the performance from the offense, as well as this game and just the end of the season in general, embarrassing, and he also said that, quote, there's probably going to be some changes. Plus, he dropped this little quote as well.
It's a wild business we're in. I mean, nobody's safe, so we'll see what happens.
So he's right, nobody is safe, especially the coaching staff, because they were just awful all the way around the entire season. I mean, I just went on and on and on about the offense and those issues and the horrible play calling, so offensive coordinator Brian Johnson just absolutely has got to go. I mean, he's got a couple of head coaching interviews. First of all, I don't even know how that's possible, but he does, so hopefully he gets one of those, but if not, then the Eagles gotta fire him. Get him out of Philly, or at least demote him back to QB coach where he was actually good, and also, Matt Patricia and Sean Desai, they both gotta go as well. I mean, we already got the reports that the Eagles were gonna move on from Sean Desai, most likely around a week ago, so hopefully that's true and it happens soon. And the defense also got even worse under Matt Patricia when they decided to make that switch. I mean, he was just terrible as the play caller and defensive coordinator, so get him out of here too, please. I mean, honestly, I feel like the only way that the Eagles really can bounce back from this next year is with a completely revamped coaching staff, and I think almost all Eagles fans would agree with that. Now, after the game, Nick Sirianni was asked about potentially making changes at the coordinator positions, and this is what he said.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little premature to talk through that. Everybody in that locker room's hurting right now. Coaches, players, staff, everybody in that locker room's hurting, and my job right now is to be there for them, be there for the guys. We'll get into all that. I'm not there yet, but yeah, we're hurting right now. It's tough to go out, the way we did this. Hats off to the Bucs. They had a good game plan. They did a good job. But my mind right now is not is not there. I got a lot of time to think about that. My mind right now is on the locker room, the guys, the coaches, all those things.
So obviously there, he didn't shut that down. He did allude to the fact that those processes are going to start very soon. That being said, that's all assuming that Nick even keeps his job, because everyone wants him fired right now too, and there's a very real case for that. I mean, this collapse by the Eagles was historic, and Nick Sirianni was the captain of that ship. I mean, his offensive scheme was far too simple. I've talked about it time and time again in videos. I did a breakdown on it a couple weeks ago. It seriously looked like a high school level offense, and also Sirianni just didn't have the guys ready to play week in and week out. He certainly didn't have them prepared for this game, which is crazy considering just how high you would think the sense of urgency would be with this being a playoff game and of course the Eagles reeling to end the season. I mean, overall, I just don't think you can make the case that Nick did a good enough job this year. It's simple as that. And after the game, Nick was asked about his job security, and he just reiterated that he wasn't focused on that right now. He's just focused on the guys in the locker room who are hurting after the loss, but there is no denying that there's going to be some serious conversations had about whether or not Sirianni remains the head coach of this team or not. Now, in Sirianni's defense, it at least still seems like he has the support of his players, at least publicly. I mean, beat reporter Elliot Shore-Parks, which, yes, we may not agree with his takes all the time, but I don't think he just makes things up. He said that every player that he talked to in the locker room had Nick Sirianni's back, and Jalen Hurts also made sure to make it clear that he still has confidence in Nick after the game.
I didn't know he was going anywhere.
Well, was obviously a lot of questions about
I didn't know that. Nah.
Where's your confidence level in him then to fix this?
I have a ton of confidence in everyone in this building. It's just a matter of us going out there and playing clean football. And that's been something that we have not done.
And in addition to that, Haason Reddick was also very animated and adamant in his defense of Nick Sirianni as well.
And everybody, you gotta remember that. When things go bad, you can't start calling for people's jobs and all that. Now that part's above my pay grade, but I don't think that's right at the end of the day. This is football. Anything can happen with they got a movie called Any Given Sunday, because anything can happen on any given Sunday at the end of the day. And like I said, this was a collective effort. No one person makes all of this. Everybody goes in and knowing Nick, he's the type of person, getting to know him over the last 2 years, he's the type of person that he's going to try to do what's best for the team. So, whatever that decision may be, that's up to him to make the final decision. At the end of the day, we got to keep going. We got to keep pushing. We got to keep going out there and trying to win games as a collective, as a team.
So it seems clear the players want Sirianni back, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the right decision. So what do you guys think? I've talked a ton about this in the past, but do you think Sirianni needs to be fired now, or do you think he deserves another year based on his overall body of work with new coordinators? Now, if Sirianni is in fact back next season, it seems like he's going to be willing to make some big changes to his own individual processes and the way that things are run. As after the game, he said with a collapse like this, he'll be looking at everything in the offseason and seeing if changes are going to be necessary, and that includes things like his horrible scheme or his notoriously light, or some would say soft, practices, both of which seem to cause huge issues this year. I mean, I feel like Sirianni and the Eagles got a huge dose of reality this season. They seem like a team that went out there and tried to win with talent alone, and you just can't do that in the NFL. I mean, the team did have some talent deficiencies, but overall they were still a very talented roster, and they just didn't maximize their potential with all the talent that they had. I mean, just look at this game, for example. They are the more talented team than the Buccaneers, and they got smoked. There were just so many issues on both sides of the ball. The players are not free from blame. They simply did not execute well enough, and there's plenty of changes that are gonna need to be made there as well this offseason, especially defensively. Like, I think we almost need a complete revamp of this defense, to be honest. I think we just gotta get younger and faster at the end of the day. And I do want to single out one guy, and that is James Bradberry. Like, what happened to this guy? Like, he was an all-pro last year, and now he absolutely stinks. He can't cover, he can't tackle, he can't do anything, and he's just got to go. And now offensively, I think that just has to do more with coaching and scheme than the players themselves, and I don't think there really needs to be a huge revamp there, but there was a bit of drama yesterday, with Dallas Goedert appearing to be getting heated with Jalen Hurts on the sideline here in this clip, and of course, people are going to overreact to this and act like they have beef or something. And it's kind of crazy because a lot of people are coming at Jalen Hurts for this, saying that the Eagles have a real problem in the locker room with Hurts and saying that he doesn't have the trust of his players anymore. But to be honest with you, even though Jalen's not free from blame at all, if I was making a list of all the reasons for the Eagles sucking this badly at the end of the year, Jalen's pretty low on that list. I'd put a lot of people ahead of him. And as far as this exchange with Goedert goes, Dallas made sure to clear things up after the game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think, I'm trying to think of this game. Someone mentioned that to me earlier. I don't think me and Jalen had any problems all game. I think I saw the clip. It was hard to tell what part of the game it was, but I think it was on the third down, and I missed the signal, and I could have messed up a big play to Smitty there early in the game. I think that's when it was, and it was my fault. I missed the sign, and it could have been a big play to Smitty. So I was just a little frustrated with myself. Not Jalen at all. Me and him got a great relationship. I don't think we've ever had an argument. So it was nothing that it's an emotional game. It was, we didn't get it on third down, so everybody's a little upset, but it was, we got no beef at all.
To be honest with you guys, I really am not worried about this at all. I have no concerns with Jalen Hurts moving forward, but what do you guys think? Now, what I am worried about is the Eagles just trying to come out here and have the best offseason possible so that they can try and bounce back from this horrible collapse next season. And in addition to the coaching changes they just have to make, they got some decisions to make on a lot of free agents. They got to bring in new guys via free agency or the draft, and then some of the Eagles vets also got to make some big decisions. The core four has got to decide what they want to do. Now, Lane Johnson said yesterday that he thinks he has a few more good years left, so he's not going to go anywhere. Brandon Graham also said that he wants to play one more year with the Birds and have kind of a farewell tour if they'll have him back, so that's definitely great. I would love to have BG back on this team. Now, Fletcher Cox, on the other hand, didn't speak to the media after the game, and he's a free agent now, so he has a huge decision to make, and I do hope he's back as well because he played well last night, he played well this entire season, and his veteran presence surely could be used. But now that I've talked about those three, that just leaves the man, the myth, the legend himself, Jason Kelce, who happens to be my favorite player of all time and one of the greatest players in Eagles history. Now, I think Kelce revealed a lot about his future without saying anything at the end of the game. He was visibly emotional with time running off the clock, he was tearing up, and then he gave his offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland, who was really the first person to believe in him, a huge hug. And he was then seen walking back into the locker room, still fighting back tears. And then this morning, it was basically made official, as Adam Schefter reported that Kelce told some of his teammates last night in the locker room that he is in fact going to retire after this season. So this was in fact it for the Eagles legend. I wish he could have gone out a different way, but I guess he figured it was just his time. So Kelce did have an incredible career. He played for 13 years, he made 6 All-Pro teams, 7 Pro Bowls, and he also won a Super Bowl, being the first Super Bowl in Eagles history. And then of course we all remember that he gave the most legendary speech of all time afterwards.
I'm going to take a second to talk to you about underdogs. Hungry dogs run faster. And that's this team. Everybody wonders why we're so mean. Everybody wonders why the Philadelphia Eagles aren't the nicest fans. If I don't eat breakfast, I'm off. And you know what? I've just heard one of the best chants this past day. And it's one of my favorite and it's new. And I hope y'all learn it. Because I'm about to drop it right now. You know what I gotta say to all those people that doubted us, to all those people that counted us out, and to everybody who said that we couldn't get it done? What my man Jay Ajay just said. F you.
Kelce is really going to be missed, man. I mean, I just can't imagine this team without him. He's my favorite player of all time. I got his jersey on right now. I'm definitely going to miss him. It's going to be pretty impossible to replace him too, but I guess it is what it is. Good luck to Jason in retirement. Philly loves you, man. We hope to see you still doing stuff in the community and on the podcast with Travis and just doing all sorts of other awesome stuff as you've been doing the past few years, like the Christmas album, the documentary. He's just done so many amazing things. And of course, on the field, he's just been an absolutely amazing player. He's a future Hall of Famer for sure. So again, we're going to miss you, but you've earned it. So thank you, Jason Kelce. Now, we're going to be covering this Eagles team this entire offseason, so if you don't want to miss any of that coverage, make sure you subscribe and also, really importantly, turn on notifications. Also, drop a like down in this video if you did enjoy it to help show some support to the channel, and leave a comment down below. What did you think of the Eagles' playoff loss to the Buccaneers and just the overall collapse by this team at the end of the season? And if you want to watch another Eagles video, you can go check this one out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys, so thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.